Everybody, Grandma Bev here, and today is movie review day. Now, we ended up going into town on Friday afternoon, so I wasn't able to do this for Friday evening because we were watching the movie in the evening. And today's movie was called American Gangster. Now, that's an old movie from 2007, but we hadn't seen it yet. It sounded interesting. It received 81% Rotten Tomatoes and 87% audience score, so yeah, that's pretty good. It has a stellar cast. My gosh, I'll read from the shorter list. It's based on a true story about Frank Lucas, a gangster from LaGrange, North Carolina. And of course, what caught our eye too was the cast. It was a stellar cast. It had Russell Crowe, Denzel Washington, Cuba Gooding Jr., Josh Brolin, Amand Asante. I mean, so many people were popping up on them. I recognize that one. Of course, they were a little younger then, but anything with Denzel in it is. Oh, and Idris Elba was in it. That was before Idris got so ultra popular. Ruby Dee was in it. Joe Morton, who some of those of you who used to watch Scandal may remember him. He was Olivia's father. Common, you know who Common is. He was in it. And like I say, a lot of other familiar faces. So the gist of the movie is, it's an American biographical crime film directed and produced by Ridley Scott. Now, he's a good director. And where am I looking? And written by Stephen Zalian. The film is fictionally based on the criminal career of Frank Lucas, a gangster from LaGrange, North Carolina, who smuggled heroin into the United States on American service planes returning from Viet Nam War before being detained by a task force led by Detective Richie Roberts. Now, Denzel Washington plays Frank Lucas, and Russell Crowe is Richie Roberts. He's a good guy cop who becomes then an attorney, but he still makes use of his cop skills. And this is stuff that went on back when I was real young adult, and I didn't know any of this stuff went on. It was back before all the social media and everything like we have now. Now you can't do anything without showing up on social media and news and everywhere. So anyway, this was the first lead acting roles together since 1995 Veracity with Denzel and Russell. So it takes place back in the late 60s. So this was during the Viet Nam era. Now, a lot of you who watch my videos, we're not even born yet. In fact, your fathers were probably in the Vietnam War. So it's interesting. It's not usually my type of movie, but I found I kept watching it. Of course, there's some violence, there's language, there's nudity, of course, of the women. But how can you cut heroin and have your clothes on, right? When they're afraid we're going to stick it in their bras and stuff. I don't know, but be prepared. There is nudity. Of course, like I said, there's violence, there's language. It's R-rated. And it starts out a little slow to me. Now, of course, this whole thing is my opinion, what I thought of it. So, like I said, it kept me going. It made me realize all this gangster activity went on back then. And I think Frank Lucas, he finally died in like late 80s. Let's see. It shows on here. I can read you a little bit of the plot. In 1968, Frank Lucas is the right-hand man of Harlan mob boss Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. Now, that was played by Clarence Williams, remember, from the Mod Squad? Those of you oldies will know. When Johnson dies of a heart attack, Frank enters the heroin trade, buying directly from producers in Thailand and smuggling it into the U.S. through returning Viet Nam War servicemen. He sells his heroin under the brand Blue Magic, whose affordability and purity make it incredibly popular, eliminating much of his competition. That doesn't go over well, the competition, as you may guess. Newark detective and aspiring lawyer Richie Roberts is ostracized in his precinct after handing in almost $1 million that he found in a mobster's car. After his outcasted and addicted partner overdoses on Blue Magic, Captain Lou Toback puts Roberts in charge of a special task force that targets major local drug suppliers. It also shows him going through a bitter divorce battle with his ex-wife over his infidelity. So he's what do you want to call it? A straight cop? An honest cop? No. So because he is, a lot of the guys that were in his, where he worked, ostracized him. So Frank Lucas becomes Harlem's top crime lord, opening illegitimate business fronts and maintaining a low profile while befriending politicians and famous celebrities such as Joe Louis. He buys a mansion for his mother, Ruby Dee, and recruits his 5 brothers as his lieutenants. He gradually falls in love and marries Eva, a Puerto Rican beauty queen. So, throughout it all, there's a New York PD detective who Frank bribes, and of course, Mexican mafia, all that kind of stuff. So, it's a good movie. I liked it. Because of the type it is and stuff, and the subject matter, and nudity and stuff, I'm giving it 3 stars. Now, Bob really liked it. He likes the crime. I mean, normally I like the crime drama stuff, but this stuff is just too real. So, where do we find it? We found it on Netflix. So, if you're, tempted to watch it, just go into Netflix, find American Gangster with Denzel and Idris Elba. Very good cast. Very good cast. Can't go wrong when you've got that many well-known guys in it. And like I say, some of the guys weren't as well-known back then in 2007 as they are now, like Idris. So, comments below, share, like, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this movie. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you all. Bye.